to as a layperson, because I will say a few things to you about road building, which I know very little. We do happen to have a couple, we may have more than a couple, but I know two civil engineers here in this congregation, Wayne and Bob, who both were also district engineers for the Department of Highways. They probably know something about road building. But I don't know whether it's just my perception or not, but over the last 10 or 15 years, I think with the exception of quarter H over in the mountains, I've seen less and less new road building and more road repair, widening and straightening rather than building new roads. Two of the recent widening projects that I remember occurred while Dawn and I were living over in Tucker County. And Pete, being a person from over that way, will probably recognize these locations I speak about. And one was at the top of Pheasant Mountain on 219, right at the Randolph-Tucker County line. And there, the side of the mountain came right down on the inside berm in a sharp curve. And if you got forced off the road by one of the log trucks that had a tendency to take the middle of the road coming around the turn, you'd find the side of your vehicle into the rocks on the mountainside. I mean, it was just the rocks and then the road. The other location was at the top of Piper Mountain over on Route 38. Right at the top of the mountain, there was another curve just like that one. The inside berm was right up against the rocks. Both places they came in and cut the rocks away and widened it so you at least had maybe a 4-foot berm there before you got squeezed into the mountainside. And the other type of road building project was evidenced with the building of Corridor H over through the eastern mountains of the state. Some of you are familiar with the beginnings of it. You get off at the western exit on the Route 33 coming east toward Elkins, which is part of Corridor H, and you get into Elkins, and you can stay on Corridor H for about another 5 miles, and then because of lack of funds, they stop the highway. You get off on an exit ramp on the 219 and on into Parsons. I have to tell a story of my daughter-in-law, Korea, here. The first time she and Seth came to visit us while we were living in Parsons, they didn't know the shortcut from Morgantown up through the country to get to Parsons, so they came up from Pittsburgh on 79 and across on Corridor H. And Taria got to see for the first time in her life where a road ended. Corridor H stopped square in a hillside. I mean, 4 lanes stopped right at a hillside. She thought that was the neatest thing. How many of you have ever seen where a road ended? It doesn't happen very often. Taria got to see it. Make straight in the desert a highway. Every valley shall be lifted up, and every mountain and hill shall become level, and the rough places a plain. We bridge rivers and valleys, we cut and tunnel through mountains, and we smooth the badlands in a manner befitting Isaiah's God. Straight, smooth, level highways. The shortest possible distance between point A and point B. That's the way we like it. Not long ago, we thought such highways could solve our transportation problems. At the beginning of the 20th century, the privileged few who had automobiles found the worst road in the nation's history. And the reason for that they were neglected was because as a nation, we had become more dependent on and concerned about railroads than we had about highways. Not only were the roads bad, but they weren't well integrated either. They left vast areas of the country unconnected, just like Korea's foreland in the hillside. Our first superhighway, Pennsylvania Turnpike. 160 miles of 4-lane divided highway connecting Pittsburgh and Harrisburg gave us the first national taste of a straight, smooth, level highway. And even with the frenzy of 4-, 6-, and 8-lane road building that ensued under the Eisenhower administration, it seems that there are just more and more cars and trucks. gridlock ensues, tempers flare, road rage abounds, and folks drive aggressive. You don't think so? Walk 2 Mile Hill out here going up to the highways. And watch how people cut back and forth in front of the truck traffic on the hillside. Literally blow you off the road. And woe be it if one of the trucks doesn't obey the sign that says, no trucks in the left lane. Look at those tractor trailers wide and watch what happens. Talk about road rage and aggressive driving. Well, whatever we do, we know that adding capacity won't solve the traffic problem. Nor will it solve the time problem that we have in our own lives. Because you see, adding more capacity, more time will not treat the basic issues of how to unclutter our lives and allow the Lord to come in. In fact, there are a few possibilities to explain the congestion and the frustration in our lives, and we might consider that as we start packing to meet God. You know, we may be, folks, on the wrong highway. You ever stop to think about that? We might be on the wrong highway. God may not be found on the road of consumerism and materialism that we're traveling. And if we find our lives are full of gridlock, it's because we're on the same road as everyone else. Maybe it's time to get off that road and onto another one, as Robert Frost said. Maybe it's time for the road less traveled. Or it might not be the road at all that's giving us difficulty. It might be the travelers on the road. We don't need a better road, we need better travelers. Perhaps we need to get rid of some of the baggage. You know, there might be something more significant than a lack of money at the heart of our financial woes. Or something more significant than a lack of time at the heart of our feeling hurried all the time. Or something more significant than a lack of entertainment at the heart of our boredom. In these and many other ways, we tend to seek solutions through our American genius for efficiency. The straight, smooth, level highway philosophy applied to life in general. We seek the better highway, the better job, the bigger store. My goodness, folks, I've heard it on the news for 3 weeks now, ever since it was announced, that new store that's going to be opening up over St. Clairsville Mall. That humongous store that takes in all of the ends, shutting down 3 other stores, I think, or 3 or 4 others that are going to have to move to make room for it. And boy, we can't wait to get over there in that big baby. Bigger store. Well, and it succeeds for a while. Bigger stores, better highways, the right appeal, better job, and they succeed usually for a while. But this isn't what Isaiah was talking about. One aspect of Isaiah's highway building shocks our American highway building sensibilities. God builds these roads. We don't have to bridge the valleys, or level the mountains, or smooth the rough ground. In Isaiah's prophecy, God does those things because He's merciful to His chosen people. Isaiah isn't calling the Jews of his day to an arduous road building plan. He's announcing the good news that God will make the journey easy. And centuries later, Christians saw the highway of Isaiah's prophecy, a prophecy of John the Baptist and Christ. John is the one crying in the wilderness, prepare the way of the Lord, make His path straight. Once again, we don't have to do the heavy lifting. That's the work of Jesus Christ, who is our highway. He says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. The highway is here. Preparation isn't a matter of arduous highway building, but of repentance. Grace, not human effort. He's on a steady journey that leads to the cross. On Palm Sunday, with the triumphal entry, Jesus enters Jerusalem. The journey's not an easy one. And in the garden, he prays that if it be his Father's will, let the journey stop right then and there. Thankfully for us, the journey continues. The road goes on. From today, it's still 4 weeks to Easter. 4 weeks to Easter. Easter. How's your journey been thus far as you believe? Do we have some unnecessary stuff that we drag with us on God's highway? Maybe we can give up a fish dinner from one of the local fire halls or churches. Give that money to a food pantry. Or if you still want to support your fire hall or your church, go to the fish dinner. Whatever you spend there on the dinner, give it to the soup kitchen down in Mansfield. There are folks on lonely journeys. Maybe it's time for you to visit a lonely neighbor or one of the church's shut-ins. Why don't we today make an effort to let someone get ahead of us in traffic? Huh? Why don't we do that today? Let's make an effort to let someone get ahead of us in traffic. Maybe while leaving the church parking lot out here, huh? Maybe it'd be nice to let someone get ahead of us in traffic. Or stop and let someone cross the street in front of us. Or maybe we might forgive someone today who cuts us off in traffic rather than maybe we might forgive him. Or pray for everyone stuck with us in gridlock. If every Christian took such an attitude in traffic, we would make our journey a lot more pleasant and a lot less filled with rage. The prophecy of Isaiah was fulfilled when the Jewish people returned to Jerusalem in 538 BC, after 5 decades of captivity and battle. The prophecy of John the Baptist was fulfilled in the life, the death, and the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Though both prophecies will only be fulfilled completely when Christ comes again in glory, our smooth, straight, level highway is already in place. The way was won for us on a cross. Sometimes, contrary to our American approach to life, a better highway won't cure what ails us. Sometimes the answer is using our freedom to become better travelers. Folks, I don't know about you, but my highway gets pretty bumpy sometimes. Sometimes there are unexpected curves that pop up in front of me, and I can't hardly make them around it without bouncing off the rocks. Sometimes life's just tough. It throws things our way that we never expected. Sometimes there's mountains to climb, and rivers to ford, and valleys to cross, and bumpy roads to travel. But our road to heaven is what's built down for us. Jesus did that on the cross for us. Not only that, but Christ travels the bumpy